think with national mask mandates, we've seen that the issue of wearing a mask has become so politicized in the United States. President Trump was very slow to wear a mask in public, even after the CDC and his own task force, even members of his own task force, recommended that Americans wear a mask to stop the spread. However, that changed a couple of weeks ago when he tweeted out a photo of himself wearing a mask and said, "Wearing a mask is patriotic, and there's no one more patriotic than I am." So definitely a bit of a reversal from the president on that. However, you are still seeing a lot of states, that are considered hotspots that still don't have mask mandates, even though it's been proven to work. And for example, here in Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis has been very, very slow to issue a mask mandate. There are a number of counties and localities that have those mandates, such as Orange County, where I am in now. However, statewide, it's still not a thing. You're also seeing a lot of corporations, such as Publix, a supermarket chain here in Florida, that, you have to wear a mask when you go in. Starbucks, for example, you need to wear a mask. But it seems that people on the other side of this debate think that being told to wear a mask is somehow the government infringing on their rights. And, you've heard a lot of, theories that quite frankly have not been proven and are not true, that say that masks can often contribute to your, bad health and can be hard to breathe in and such. So you have that side of the debate, but now you're seeing it become much more mainstream with a lot of corporations. And I think to a lot of libertarians who might, or someone who's libertarian leaning, who might have an issue with the government issuing a mask mandate, the corporate side of it could change that. It is interesting though, when you look at Texas, where Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican governor, lots of ties to Trump, issued a statewide mandate on the issue. That's very notable, and I think was notable how he did not wait for the administration to get guidance on that. However, Governor Ron DeSantis is still not budging on that.
We are in a new phase, and that's why I really wanted to make it clear to the American people. It's why we started putting out governor reports directly to the health officials and the governors in every single state, because we could see that each thing had to be tailored. So each state has a tailored set of recommendations based on what we're seeing at the community level, what we're seeing relevant to the hospitals, and each of these responses have to be dramatically tailored. We are beginning to see an impact from the mitigation procedures that many of the state and local officials have put into place. But I want to be very clear, what we're seeing today is different from March and April. It is extraordinarily widespread. It's into the rural as equal urban areas. And to everybody who lives in a rural area, you are not immune or protected from this virus. And that's why we keep saying, no matter where you live in America, you need to wear a mask and socially distance, do the personal hygiene pieces, but more importantly, if you're in multi-generational households and there's an outbreak in your rural area or in your city, you need to really consider wearing a mask at home, assuming that you're positive if you have individuals in your households with comorbidities. This epidemic right now is different, and it's more widespread, and it's both rural and urban.
It's hard to say whether, Trump wants to do something nationwide, because he's really kind of stayed away from that approach throughout the pandemic, despite the fact that it's worked in other nations. President Trump's main issue with that is that it's impacted different communities differently, which is absolutely true. But to Dr. Birx's point, we're seeing it definitely spread more to rural areas now, to urban, suburban communities as well. And we're still within this first phase. So, I think there will definitely be pressure from the president, especially from someone like Dr. Birx, who's on that council or that advisory on the coronavirus task force. That could definitely put pressure on him. But judging from his, decision making over the past few months in the pandemic, I don't see it happening necessarily. That could change if things get very dire. I think Trump also is depending a lot politically on the economy to get back on track. And if a nationwide mask mandate would help that, I would imagine he would be in favor of that.
again, it has become a political hot button, so it's not surprising that Republicans and Democrats disagree. But when it's a health risk, I think people are thinking about it differently. We know that people are very concerned now about the number of corona cases that are rising. And so I think it's, in a way, not too surprising that this is one of the things we've been told is effective in terms of reducing the spread. It's not surprising that the public endorses it pretty robustly. Well, it's interesting. If you look back to some of the other issues, wearing helmets for motorcycles, it was very controversial at one point. Seatbelts was controversial for a very long time. When they are health risks, you tend to see higher levels of support than mandates about other kinds of things. And so over time, the public came to believe, and there's still some outliers, that wearing a helmet is very important for motorcycle riders. They came to believe that wearing seatbelts is very important. And that emphasis on safety we didn't see as much of it, let's say, in the 60s and 70s in public opinion data as we do now. And of course, the mask issue is also related to safety. Governors may be thinking that some of these things are more properly handled at the community level. I mean, clearly publics don't feel that way, but the federal principle that we see operating on the national versus the state level, with a lot of Republicans at the national level wanting to give states choices in these matters, is a pretty important historical principle, and perhaps many governors feel that way about their own states. So it's pretty clear that voters generally like the idea of a national mask mandate. It's pretty hard to enforce it, and it may be that Republicans are more skeptical about being able to enforce something like this across the state.
We're asking everybody that when you are not able to socially distance, wear a mask, get a mask. Whether you like the mask or not, they have an impact, they'll have an effect, and we need everything we can get.